In this lesson, we would be looking at PHP functions. A function is a block of statement that can be used repeatedly in a program. Imagine it like this. If you have a company, let's say Facebook. No, that's a bad example. Let's take a different company. Let's just say ABC Incorporated. ABC Incorporated is, let's say, a software company, and in that company they have 4 departments called marketing department, operations department, administrations department, and finally some other department like, okay, I'm out of departments now. Interesting. So let's just say ABC Incorporated has 3 departments called operations, marketing, and administration, and then you have the company. So operations, administration, and marketing are 3 different departments. If you want to get something done, you send that into that specific department and then you get the output. Similar to this, functions are these departments. If this entire .php script is your company, functions inside this script are those specific departments. You do things inside those departments and then you finally get an outcome. Similar to that, you do things inside a function and you get an outcome. And you can use that department to do things over and over again. And basically, another thing is those departments don't operate when you load your website, when you load your page, or when you go open up your company. Those departments, those functions only operate when you want them to operate, when you call them, when you contact them and say and do this and do that. Yeah? So a function will be executed only by a call to that function. They won't be executed automatically when your page loads. Let's see how we can create a function. So I'm going to say functions.php and get back into Safari and then say here functions.php. Alright. Once we have that, now what I want to do is create a function. Well, first initially we need the PHP script. Now how we can create a function is, let's try to create a function that simply write a message or write an output. So function keyword space, and now you define the function name or else the department name. In this I'm going to say just the printing department, so I'm just going to say printing, open bracket, close bracket, and then you say open curly bracket, close curly bracket. Now inside here I'm going to print simply echo hello from the printing department. Once you have that, let's get back into Safari. Safari, and then refresh, and nothing happened. Why really? That's because that's how departments work. You need to call that specific department in order to execute the content that are inside that department. How can you call a department? Well, basically you can call a department by the department name or else the function name, which is printing. And also, not just the function name, you should have open bracket, close bracket, which I'll explain what they do in a moment, and then do the semicolon to end the line. Save this project, get back into Safari, refresh, and now you can see hello from printing department is getting printed. So this is basically how you use functions. And what do these 2 brackets really do inside a function? Well, basically what these brackets act as is as a door. In a department you have a door and you send data into that department through that door. That is the main door of the function. That is the main, these 2 brackets define that door. So if your function needs any kind of data, you can ask for that data within these brackets here, and when you're calling the function you can provide that data within the 2 brackets here when you're calling. So that's basically how a function works. For example, let's say you just want to get a name. So let's say you want to create a name. So what you do is you're going to ask for that name. So you create a variable inside the doors, and then the value that you provide when you're calling that function gets automatically attached to that variable. So for example, if I'm saying name, if I create a variable called name, and if I'm going to do it here, I'm going to say name just like this. In terms of variables, you can simply mix them into the text without the dot. You can simply say $name and it will just get printed just like that. There is no issue with that. And now this is an error because it is asking for the name, and if you don't provide the name, it is error. So inside here you should provide the data, and a name is a text, so we use double quotations all the time. If it is not a text, if it is a number, we can just say just like this the number, but since it is a text, we're using double quotation and we're going to say Bihan. So once I have that, I'll get back into Safari, refresh. As you can see, it now displays hello Bihan from the printing department. Yeah, so that's basically how functions work, and this is basically how we can do that. What about two? If you want to ask for two data, well, basically, let's say you're asking for the first name and the last name, then you can simply do that. You can simply say here f name and then have a comma and then ask for the second data that you need. Let's say that's L name, which is last name, and here now you can have hello Bihan. Let's say this is f name, and then here let's say L name. Once you have that, you can basically pass the two values by having a comma, double quotation. What's the last name? I'm just going to have my last name. And if I go back into Safari, refresh, it doesn't happen. Well, basically because when you have two variables just like this, you actually need to use the dot. Technically, you can use the dot this way. So once you have that, it doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? It's basically because we forgot the variable name. Alright, once you have that, as you can see, it says now hello Bihan Mahadev from the printing department. So not just this, if you want to create a department which basically do some kind of addition, subtraction, some kind of operation, you can do that as well and return it to this. Like this is a department, you can get data from this department, you can do the operation within the department. At the same time, you can return some kind of a data to the place where you call this department, to here. How can you return a specific data is, let's create a new function. Let's say function add. You're asking for two values, and let's say num1 and num2. You're asking for the two values, and now I'm not going to do the printing inside the function. I'm going to do the printing outside the function. I'm going to say echo, and echo what? I'm going to inside here, I'm going to call the function and I'm going to pass two values. I'm going to say 1, 2. So I'm going to basically print the output of this function with this echo command. So if I pass 1 and 2, I want to add them together and then return them. So if you want to return a value, you simply use the return keyword and then say what is the operation. The operation is num1 plus num2. Dot is used when you're using text. Plus is used when you're using numbers. So it works as an addition. So if you go back now to Safari, refresh, as you can see, 3 gets printed. Yeah, 3 gets printed. You can have like a simple BR if you want to, and use dot there. Yeah, so 3 is printed because 1 and 2 gets added. If you want to send 5 there, now 6 is printed. If you want to send 10 there, now 11 is printed. So this is a department, and that's how you use departments or functions in PHP. If you have any conversations, take them into the Q&A section.